You know, we're going to talk a little bit about the creativity construct today. And, you know, I have to go back in time to really start to open up this discussion back to when I was a kid. And, you know, I'd be laying there in the front yard with my brother at my mom's house, and we'd be looking up at the sky, and, you know, we'd see things. You know, we'd like create, oh, look at that, I see a popsicle over there. Or maybe a big hot air balloon we're seeing, right? Sometimes it might even be a rocket ship. And what I started to realize was that right there in the very front yard, looking back on this, there was a creativity construct that was starting to form. And you have to ask yourself, well, what is a creativity construct? Well, it's an immersive kind of environment where you can go in your mind or with somebody that you're close to, and you trust that individual. In other words, you open up your ideas, and they don't squash them. They don't have a sumo guy who comes out and starts to, you know, say that's not a good idea. And but, you know, overall, it's just an opportunity for you to start looking at things a little differently. And it's not easy. In fact, it's never easy. That's a big old warehouse about 12 miles from here, up in the RIDC Park, about 60,000 square feet. It didn't look quite that good when we first started. It got pretty messy. And it started off with the messy idea of coming up with something that might be creative enough to inspire that part of us that we had in our youth, you know, that we sometimes start to lose as time goes by. And if you ask me, hey, George, how come as we get older, we start to like lose a little bit of that creativeness? I'd say, well, I'm still working on that. But I do have some of the basics are really coming clear, which you'll soon see. So we took this old warehouse and we started to put our ideas into it. And we created Invention Land. This was 12 years ago. This is long before the Google kind of experience came around in the workplace. This thing has won, it's usually in the top 1, 2, or 3 spot worldwide. It's right here in Pittsburgh. And it's an immersive creative environment that is a creative construct because the people that we put in it have a state of mind that we believe in. We believe that you're born with creativity in you. You just have to figure out a way to keep it in you. And but this treehouse is symbolic to me because in the backyard of my mother's house, my brother and I built a big old treehouse, and we used to hang out in that thing with our friends from the community. And inside the walls of that thing that we built, which was so very special to us, we could dream and do anything that we wanted. And that is a creativity construct. And while we're at it, since we're already building a treehouse, why don't we just throw in a pirate ship? Because that would be a cool office. Or maybe even a castle. There's a lot of other creative expressions going on in this place, but the whole idea is it doesn't really work if the people who come here are not of the creative spirit. And so we work on that. It's a culture of creativity. You can create a space, but the people have to bring their own energy each day. What's interesting to me is that, you know, you can create a creative construct in your house. You can create it in your business. And now you can start to create them in your schools. And this is going on. I mean, we have gone from a 1950s looking building about 30 miles from here, where you take these beautiful little young people, K through 5, and you stick them in these old 1950s buildings. You have to start asking yourself, what are we doing? Right? I mean, I don't want to work in there. I don't want to go in there. And the kids don't know any better, so they do get out of the minivan and they do go in there. But you are having to convince them to go into that space. Along with that space, you also get this like old way of teaching. And because we're into courseware and those kinds of things now, that we actually have courseware where you learn how to create. But anyway, in this model of what's going on today, we're actually teaching our kids to take tests. Think about that for a minute, right? So you have your child in school, and we say, hey, here's this book. And in this book are all these facts. These are facts, real facts. You're going to read these facts. You're going to memorize these facts. And then I'm going to test you on these facts. Repeat. Read these facts. Memorize these facts. Take this test. And we do this again and again and again. So our naturally beautiful, creative selves start to turn into something else, which I still don't know how to put a word to. But today, the Hain Middle School, it looks like this. They don't need be pushed into that classroom. The kids run into that classroom. And something else came out of this experiment. The teachers, you can't get them out of there either. This is a positive, creative environment that is meant to do one thing, and that is to inspire the creativity in our youth. And when you do that kind of thing, you start to unwind that memorize, test, repeat deal. And you start to teach kids that they can actually think for themselves. That they can start to take on challenges. You can actually go through a course that's not going to give you answers. It's just going to act as a guiding principle of where you need to go from A to Z. And at the end of the day, you start to create kids who are like this. These kids right here, they have created a new kind of slipper. And they won one of our contests. But the teachers really didn't tell them what to do. They just go into the space. They follow a general outline of where they're going to go. There is no test at the end of this course. But they run into the space. They want to create something. They want to make the world a little better in whatever area of the world they're in. And that means if I'm walking from my bedroom to the bathroom in my home in the middle of the night, and the dog's laying on the ground and I trip, hey, that's an issue for me. I want to try and solve that problem. Well, that's what that is. These kids, they designed it. They did the drawings. They built the parts. They tested the parts. They did the soldering. They did the whole thing. And then on top of that, look how they're dressed. They're great little storytellers when they come out of the end, and they know how to present to 3 adult judges. They actually speak like people who know what they're doing. They're on a mission. They're explorers who were just kind of going out there and not winging it anymore. They're building their confidence. To me, that's what I think we're after. We want to build kids for life, not for tests. And while I'm up here, there's a young man here today. I'm going to do a shout out to him. I don't know if he's in this audience right now, but it's a part of this big Create conference that we're in. This young man, his name's Lucas Schwartz, and he's from the Carmichael Middle School. And he's being recognized by the Create conference for one thing. He's being honored as a finalist for his creation. He created what's called the Slope Master bike. And it started as a class project here locally that used this very curriculum. And thanks to the good friends at Benedum and other places around here like the IUs and the school districts that really are pushing for good creative expression and learning and doing technology, these kinds of things are coming into more and more schools. You're going to see more and more of this out of our kids, especially locally. But it is spreading out. Ohio, West Virginia, and New York, they're all coming online now. Back to that whole expression, I think there's a lot of adults in this audience right now. And I bet you if I asked you to come on up here on stage with me and do a cartwheel, you'd probably say, I'm not going up there. But if I asked you when you were 7 years old, you'd already be up on this stage. You'd be trying to do a cartwheel. And you know what you'd do? You'd probably fail. You'd probably fall. You might even laugh that you failed. And in our world, we refer to that as we fail our way forward. If you don't think people were trying to undermine or be jealous or try to do things as I was building Inventionland, holy mackerel, you should have seen the doubters. We had all sorts of issues trying to get creative spaces into schools. Anytime you're doing creativity, you always know There's a negative Nelly somewhere out there. The gentlemen who were up here just a few moments ago, they brought that fact up. They know what they're talking about. We live it. We see it, and I don't know, I kind of get my kicks out of it. But there are other places in the world that we could chat about. This is another creative construct. This is Carmel, out on the coast of California. It's an artist colony. Some people refer to it as Carmel by the sea. This is a creative construct that works. And it works because the people who are there, they have this whimsical space that they live around. And that immersive creative space means something. Otherwise they wouldn't be there. Creative immersive spaces in schools, businesses, and even in a home is a very important part of the story if you're going to be in the creative space. But the other piece is everybody who's there supports each other. I sensed like some really great things here today. I walked through and I saw all these artists outside. They have them all. There's music, there's glass, there's blacksmithing, and a host of other ones out there. If you've never been one of those folks, you're out there. You're showing what you're able to do. You're bearing your soul to people what your creativity is. It's tough. It's tough for them. We respect that at all times. And also pat them on the back. Give them a thumbs up. But creativity can be done anywhere. Inspiration is everywhere if you're willing to look. Whether it's the coast or a classroom. What I would ask all of you is to ask yourself a question. What can you do to inspire a creative construct with your children, at your home, or your business? It could be something as simple as, I really like what you created today. I love that drawing. Your music just inspired me. Thank you for making me feel better today. I really love what you just did. It's those kinds of things that mean something. Those are the kids that when they look up into the sky, when they grow up and become adults, they know it's not such a bad thing to have your head in the clouds after all. Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, man.